Hello, I'm Doodle. Welcome to my YouTube channel where I talk about whatever I want and do Minecraft in the background. Today we'll be talking about the Dyatlov Pass incident. If you know anything about true crime or paranormal stuff, you've probably heard of it. I'm going to be giving a disclaimer right now. This video the following content may not be appropriate for those who are more sensitive to things such as death, including descriptions of the causes of death and the places where the bodies were found. I will be also mentioning theories related to the paranormal, so if that freaks you out, here's your warning. I'll be putting timestamps for when I start and finish talking about these things. If you want to try and watch the video while skipping through these things, go ahead, although I'm not sure how much sense it will make, but it is your prerogative. Now let's get into it. The Dyatlov Pass incident started in January of 1959. 10 hikers were going into the Ural Mountains led by Igor Dyatlov. They planned to stay for 3 weeks, returning on the 12th of February. Heads up, by the way, so you can probably tell by the Ural Mountains, a lot of these names are Ukrainian or Russian. I don't speak Ukrainian or Russian, so if I get things wrong, please don't come at me. The group included the following people: Igor Dyatlov, who was the leader, Semen Zolotarov, who is probably the most experienced hiker, Lyudmila Dubinina, Yuri Krivinoshkino, Rustem Slobodin, Alexander Kolovartov, Yuri Doroshenko, Zenata Kolmogorov, and Nikolai Thieks-Brignol, as well as Yuri Yudin, who ended up leaving early due to a flare-up of sciatica, which ended up saving his life. By the way, what is sciatica? I looked it up, and from what I could tell, it's basically a condition that causes pain to flare up your back and legs. Yudin left on the 28th of January, so he isn't in the rest of the story, but he was there. I feel like it's important to include him because he was on there, right? And he lost, maybe not all of, but he lost a lot of his friends from that. Anyway, about the rest of them. We have records of the hikers up to the 1st of February, but I couldn't find out how we have them. Maybe they made contact with people at home, but I couldn't really find out how they do that. Because Yudin left, they were moving slightly slower because they had more supplies, because the supplies were distributed among everyone, right? Say, person A is carrying all the food, person B is carrying the tents or whatever, They eventually ditched the extra gear and made their way to Kholat Syakhy. The native people, the Mansi, called it Dead Mountain, which is definitely a good omen. Experts have said that it was an odd place for them to make camp because it was on the side of one of the slopes in the mountain instead of at the base of it. They think that they probably didn't want to lose the ground they had made and have to walk back there in the dark. Also, forgive my lisping, I got Invisalign. When the 12th of February rolled around and the hikers didn't show up, people were like, it's okay, it's rough terrain, give them a few days, maybe it just took them a day or two extra, right? 8 days later, on the 20th, they started sending out a search party, hoping to find the missing hikers well and alive. They didn't. When they found them, the tents had been cut open from the inside, meaning the people inside the tents had to do it. There was also a flashlight found in the tent, but above the snow, despite the fact that it had indeed snowed. The flashlight was turned on, but the battery was dead, so if you replaced the battery, it would still work, kind of thing. Footprints of bare feet were found, meaning human feet without socks or shoes, were found, leading to the remains of a fire under a tree that had branches broken 5 meters off the ground for, the 3 countries using the imperial system, I think it is. That's 16 feet. The hikers were scattered around the slope, and it took almost 2 months to find everyone. Thawing made it easier to find the last of the bodies. Onto the causes of death. Heads up if you are just listening to this and you're not watching the video or anything, because it's really nothing related to the content. It's just me playing Minecraft. Here's where we're starting to talk about how people died. Yuri Doroshenko was found by the fire that was found under the tree. His cause of death was hypothermia, but he had burns on his hands and head, as well as cuts and bruises. It's believed that he might have fallen from the tree trying to get firewood. Yuri Krivinoshkino was found by Doroshenko. His cause of death was hypothermia. He had minor cuts and bruises as well as burns. The tip of his nose was missing and parts of his knuckles were missing, later found in his mouth. He's probably gnawing on his knuckles, not his muscles, on his knuckles to try and stay awake and alive, because a common thing with hypothermia is if you fall asleep after you got it and you don't have someone to wake you back up, you're probably dead, right? So he's probably just trying to stay alive, and his nose was probably missing from scavengers. Igor Dyatlov was found by the tents with minor cuts and bruises and missing a tooth, I'm missing a tooth. His cause of death was hypothermia. Zenaida Kolmogorova was closer to the tent and found face down in the snow. She had minor cuts and bruises as well as major blunt force bruises, the source of which couldn't be identified. The difference between minor and major bruises is that you might get a minor bruise if you trip and bump your knee, but a major bruise would be something you might get from being hit in the head with a ball or by having a BB gun pellet hit you. Her cause of death was also hypothermia. The last 4 hikers took the longest to find, being found in May. These were the people whose bodies were discovered after thawing. They were discovered in a 1.8 meter deep ravine that's 6 feet for those using the imperial system. For me, just hearing the numbers, it's hard to visualize how high or whatever it actually is. Think like you know how at parks they'll have like the little slide and the big slide? Think a little bit less than the big slide, you know? I can talk. The ravine was found to be radioactive. Alexander Kolovartov died from hypothermia. He had a broken nose, missing eyes, and soft tissue missing around the eyes. This is probably from scavenging. Scavenging his body. Yeah, okay. His clothes were found to be radioactive. Ludmila Dublinina died from a crushing injury to her chest. This was probably from the fall into the ravine or debris falling on top of her. Her eyes, tongue, and soft tissue were missing, again probably from scavengers. Her clothes were also found to be radioactive. Simon Zolotarov was found hugging Kolovartov, probably to conserve heat. He died from a crushed injury to his chest, probably from the fall or debris falling on top of him. He had a pen and paper in his hands, probably to write something out. Unfortunately, there wasn't anything on it. His clothes were also found to be radioactive. Nikolai Thiboux-Brignol died from impact to his skull, probably from the fall or debris falling on top of him again, and his clothes were also found to be radioactive. So we're going to move on to the theories, and just a heads up, first I'm just going to be stating the theories and the evidence that people state for it and the evidence that people state against it. And then after that, I will be talking about my opinions on them so that you can have an objective viewpoint on them and form your own. The first theory was foul play. Some people think that all or few of the hikers were double agents smuggling radioactive material for the CIA. Remember, this took place during the Cold War, and people were really paranoid about spies from enemy countries. There seems to be little proof for this, except for the fact that the clothes were radioactive. However, there is no official, this means that this couldn't have happened because we have this piece of evidence. It's just that there are other things that are a bit more plausible. The second theory was wrongful attack. Some people think that they were mistaken for escaped convicts by the Gulag. If you didn't know, the Gulag at the time was pretty harsh, and if you tried and succeeded to escape and were caught, death was the most likely outcome. People argued that this was why other people were in a panic. However, people argue this is why other people were in a panic. People argue that this is why the party was in a panic. However, other people argue that this theory is discredited because of the lack of bullets. The third idea is that they saw something they shouldn't have. There is no proof for this besides the fact that they seemed pretty panicked before their deaths. There also isn't any proof against it, just more plausible theories. Another idea was the Mansi people attacked them. If you remember earlier from the video, they were the native people in that area. People argued that they were perhaps trying to reclaim some of their land or steal things from the hikers. However, as far as we know, the land was not sacred in any way to the Mansi. It was called Dead Mountain, not as in a dead burial place, as in a nothing grows there, and nothing was missing from the hikers as far as we know. Now we're getting on to the paranormal theories, not strange, but involving actual paranormal things, and then we'll go on to the scientific ones. Some think that the hikers were killed by a Yeti. Thiboux-Brignol had a camera and took some photos. In one, there's a blurry figure many think could be a Yeti. The other paranormal idea is a UFO. When I say UFO, I don't mean an unidentified object as in, oh, is that a plane? I wonder which country that plane is from. I mean aliens. People think that the UFOs freaked everyone out and caused them to act panicked and caused the radiation. Most of these theories, there is some evidence to it, and there isn't a lot of evidence against it, just more plausible theories. Some people think that perhaps it was an avalanche. However, scientists state that there wasn't enough snow at the time to actually make sense for it to be an avalanche. There's another theory called the katabatic wind theory. Katabatic is such a fun word to say. Anyway, katabatic wind, also called gravity wind, is a phenomenon that occurs over sheets of ice in mountains. This area of the mountain was especially prone to katabatic wind. The phenomenon can cause winds of up to 81 meters per second, which is 400 4,860 meters per hour. It is thought that some of them were scared out of their tents, or the tents were blown away, causing them to need to cut themselves out of the tents, or something of the sort. Another idea for this was that someone was using the bathroom and their cries brought their friends out to help them. There's a lot of evidence to support this theory. The people were tired and dark, so they probably didn't anchor their tents as properly as they should have, causing the wind to more easily carry them away. The flashlight would have probably been left as a beacon for them to find a way back to their camp after the storm was over. They were probably in and around the ravine because they were trying to find a place to hide from the debris. And the reason why they were in light clothing was because they were escaping in a hurry. Inside, the tents are warm, but outside is really cold. In the middle of the night, you normally aren't thinking straight, and in the middle of an apparent snowstorm, you would be completely panicked, which could lead even these experienced hikers to leave without their warm clothes or shoes. Now it's time for me to give my opinions on the theories. I've given you the evidence for and against them, but now I'm giving my subjective viewpoint on them. With the first foul play one, I just feels weird. It feels like something that would happen in a James Bond movie. In fact, I'm pretty sure it has. Maybe, I don't know. I don't really watch as much James Bond. Second idea about the wrongful attack is kind of similar. If the guards from the Gulag found the group and noticed them as escaped criminals, thought, wait, that didn't make any sense. That was not a cognizant sentence. That sentence made no sense. If the guards thought that they were escapees, they probably would have realized quickly, hey, these people are, fully equipped for a hiking trip and whatnot. They probably didn't just break out of a gulag. And again, no bullets. Also, why were they all scattered around? If they thought they were criminals, they'd probably round them up, right? I don't know. And with the bullets, maybe they fired bullets. Yeah, but we didn't find any. They never hit anyone. And there's none on the ground. Are people going and picking them up? That doesn't really make sense to me. With the saw something they shouldn't have, I really don't believe in this theory, just because, like I said, there isn't much evidence for it, but there isn't much against it. There's just better evidence. The theory of the Mansi people feels wrong because throughout history, indigenous groups and minorities have been used as scapegoats for things that we don't understand. Remember, the area was neither religiously or culturally significant to them, so it wasn't like they were trying to reclaim a significant area of land, and they were just really easy to scapegoat on. With the Yeti attack, I don't think I really need to explain why I think it's silly. The only evidence is a photo that could be anyone. The subject is humanoid and could easily be someone moving as the photo is being taken. Also, because it was shot on film, they have no record of when it was actually taken. So it could easily be Brooks Brignall taking a photo of one of his friends without them knowing and the photo coming out blurry. Besides, if you were around a Yeti, do you think your first, instinct would be, I should take a picture? No, I'm pretty sure it would be, I should hide and get out of here. And if they were attacked by a Yeti, why were there no, claw marks or anything? Wouldn't you think a Yeti has, claws or something? We're not really going to address the UFO thing. Just don't really think it makes sense. Anyway, in regards to the avalanche, it may seem like a plausible solution at first glance, but with later examination, we can see this wasn't a proper answer. There wasn't enough snow in the tents, nor were any avalanches reported, and this area wasn't prone to avalanches. The katabatic wind theory, in my opinion, is the most plausible solution. There aren't many holes in the story, except for the radioactive clothes, and I'm about to get into that. Kolevatov was studying under a nuclear physicist, so he could easily come into contact with radioactive material, which would solve for the area he was found being radioactive. The bodies that were radioactive were collected 2 months after everyone's deaths, so they could have easily been contaminated. The particles were found to be beta particles, and beta particles were used to determine the thickness of things, and could have easily been used to test the thickness of hiking clothes and tarps. If you're trying to... I found a random page of an old script. If you're trying to make sure you're not sending people up with insufficient weather protection, you're going to test the thickness of it, right? That's what I would do. So it just makes sense that could have happened. And going back to the contamination, there's this thing in the crime scene. The longer a crime scene is left undiscovered, the more contaminated the evidence becomes, because the more things could have occurred to place, for example, more DNA or remove it. It's the same kind of thing. more things could have happened. More things could have happened that caused the radioactivity in that area. And also, Kolevatov was studying under a nuclear physicist. I mean, I don't really think I need to spell it out that much. But anyway, that's just what I think. Do you have a different theory about this occurrence? Do you have anything you want me to cover later? If so, let me know in the comments. And please like and subscribe because these videos are, okay. Please like and subscribe because I like making these videos and I would like to know that other people like to listen to them. They make me... I can deliver subscribe monologues. Please like and subscribe if you like my content. It really helps me out. And let me know if you have anything you want me to cover in the comments. Bye.